So, given the downfall of Pokemon and how horrible recent generations of Pokemon have been, I'm going to be looking at back at a better part of Pokemon as well. Okay, I remember when people got really, really angry at me when I basically tore Sword and Shield apart every chance I could. Okay, and I tried to keep an open mind with Scarlet and Violet. The game wasn't that great. I tried to give Pokemon Go a chance because you're just too nostalgic of the real of the with your so-called real Pokemon spin-offs like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Ranger, and heck, even Pokemon Dash is better than Pokemon Go. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, and then I talk about why old Pokemon, more particularly Gen 3 to Gen 5. Okay, I'm not a Gen 1. Okay, as well, 100% not, but Pokemon was much better before it went to the 3DS. Okay, and there were of course some decent games in the 3DS era. I'm not denying that obviously Pokemon X and Y weren't that bad. I still had my fun with them. OS was pretty okay, pretty good. Um, and of course, Sun and Moon and Ultras, were pretty good. But once we got to the Switch era of Pokemon, that's when it really fell apart with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Again, people got mad at me over that too. Okay, Sword and Shield, Master Strike Bomb. How dare you criticize Pokemon Sword and Shield? How dare you be angry that there's not every single Pokemon in the game? Okay, how dare you have expectations for a video game franchise? Okay, when you have every other IP that's associated with Nintendo going above and beyond, like Mario Kart World did better. Okay, I know people hate Mario Kart World. Okay, Mario Kart World is still a Mario Kart game. It's still fun. It's still entertaining. It's still interesting as well. They at least switch things up so it isn't the same game as Mario Kart game. But when it comes to Pokemon Sword and Shield, also starting Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Sword and Shield for $15. Yeah, this is $1 Pokemon Sword. Yeah, people are now practically giving that game away. Okay, at this point. Okay, as well. But Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think, were the worst Pokemon games possible. Okay, and then they made Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Okay, a completely unfinished and broken game. A part of a game like Sonic 06. I never played Sonic 06 while growing up, but now I did play it, but I did play something like Sonic 06. It was called Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And the sheer level of disappointment, okay, with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Yes, I am glad they got rid of grinding, my least favorite part of the older Pokemon games, okay, as well, okay. But isn't that hard to raise a Pokemon up to the gym level? It really isn't, okay, as well, okay. But there's a lot of features that were removed, from Sword and Shield. Some of them good, of course, a lot of them bad as well, okay. But what made Generation 4 and let's start with Generation 3, okay, as well, okay, as well. And this is where I think the soul of the Pokemon really is. Again, I always had a fascination with Generation 3, even though I grew up with Generation 4. I always thought Generation 3 was a cool one. Like the Pokemon of Generation 3 are just peak. Okay, honestly. If you look at Generation 3 Pokemon, you have Sceptile, Swampert, Blaziken, um, Manectric, Rayquaza, or Rayquaza, whichever way you pronounce it, Tropius. Okay, there are very few really bad Pokemon and Generation 3. You had Castform, which looks like a pair of balls and completely sucked in battle. You had Luvdisc, okay. And you had Sedenza, probably the worst Pokemon of all time, as well. But almost all the Pokemon were good in Generation 3, okay. There were so many good options you could pick, as well. That's from Generation 3 alone, okay. As well. And then they had Generation 4, which had the peak games like Pokemon Platinum, okay. Pokemon Platinum is way, way, way better than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Sword and Shield will ever be. Okay, that's just the absolute facts of this. Or Pokemon Go especially, okay, as well, okay, as well, okay. But let's look at the Gen 4 spin-offs, okay, as well. Okay, Generation 4 had a ton of spin-offs as well. And I'm going to go over all of the great spin-offs, not the mid ones, but the great ones here. So let's go over to Generation 4 spin-offs as well here. Here. So we have Pokemon Adventure Dozen Explorers series and the original Mystery Dozen game, which was Gen 3 as well here. Those games, and yes, Pokemon Suit, like the Mystery Dozen games in the 3DS era, um, were not as great as the old one. Heck, even the Mystery Dozen Rescue Team DX wasn't as great as Blue and Red Rescue Team. Even though the story stayed the same and everything, but it didn't feel the same. It's just ever since Pokemon Mystery Dozen has gotten to 3D, this series has just not been as good as the older games. Okay, they made the games, very different, and they're just unrecognizable compared to the older games as well here. Then they had the Pokemon Ranger series, which they completely got rid of for some strange reason as well. Considering the fact they had every opportunity to make one for the Wii U as well, because guess what? The Wii U had a gamepad. They had every opportunity to make it for the Switch and Switch 2. But nope. Again, the real game we play as Ditto, with Gen 1 pandering, when Pokemon Ranger had no Gen 1 pandering because Gen 1 pandering didn't exist until the 3D games. Okay? As well, okay? Then you had Pokemon Rumble, which Rumble Blast was like the only good entry in the first one. Well, you had Pokepark as well here. You had Pokemon Conquest, which wasn't my favorite game, but it was still pretty good. But modern spin-offs, okay? Modern spin-offs, okay? As well, okay? Modern Pokemon spin-offs are mostly mobile games. And you already know my opinion on mobile games. Mobile games suck, and they're not real games, okay? I'm not talking about old mobile games like Angry Birds or Doodle Jump. I'm talking about the modern money grubbing games that just want to get every cent and penny possible as well. Okay, that is basically modern mobile gaming. Unfortunately, because of the success of Pokemon Go, which was guaranteed to be a success either way, but because of people liking, because of how popular Pokemon is. You really have to realize Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise of all time. If you like Pokemon or not, as well, Pokemon is still the highest grossing media franchise as well. But the Gen 9 Pokemon spin-offs, okay, so you have Pokemon Go, okay, Pokemon Cafe Remix, not a very good game, Pokemon Masters EX, I haven't even played it, never will, okay, as well, okay, because it's a mobile game. Pokemon Unite, I heard that game was completely trash. And the only non-mobile games we have currently so far is Pokeopia, which looks okay, and Detective Pikachu Returns. Yeah, what happened to Pokemon Ranger? What happened to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon? What happened to Pokemon Dash? Pokemon Dash is infinitely better than the modern Pokemon spin-offs. Like Pokemon Smile. Okay, who's gonna be buying Pokemon Smile? I know it's a thing so we can to tell people to brush their teeth, but like I get Pokemon's a franchise that is very more intended for kids, but this is the reason why most people don't care what Pokemon presents nowadays, because we can hope and pray that they finally give us more real spin-offs like Pokemon Rumble, like as well as another Pokemon spin-off that has kind of disappeared, Pokemon Troze. And so they'll probably make that a copy mobile game most likely as well. There's another IP they completely another Pokemon spin-off that is kind of dead. Heck, you had Pokemon Picross as well, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which hasn't seen a new entry since the 3DS era. We're not counting remakes, obviously, but as well. But you also have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates of Infinity as well. And then we have the golden era of spin-offs as well, including Pokemon Get Ranger series, Pokemon Rumble, and its sequel for the 3DS, Pokemon Battle Evolution. I know people hated that game because not as great as my S64, and I was the only one that didn't hate the game, but again, I didn't grow up with the N64, so I didn't know there was a Pokemon. There were mini games. There was supposed to be mini games in my Pokemon Battle Simulator as well. Okay, yeah, as well. I'd always like to battle random NPCs of the Pokemon that is caught in the game. It would just be something that I would do in my free time for some reason on the Wii as well. Then you had the Pokemon Ranger games, you had Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you had even Pokemon Dash, you had Pokemon XD and Coliseum. Okay, actual good spin-off games as well. We had Pokemon Pinball, you had Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Troze as well. And yeah, and even the main, and of course the main series games were way better, like Reef Fire Red and Reef Green, Ruby Sapphire, Emerald, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver, Diamond Pearl, and Platinum. It just seems that Pokemon, like, a lot of people complain about how Nintendo has quote unquote lost their soul, has become soulless. But when it comes to Pokemon, I'm just, you know, yeah. Oh, we have another very horrible update for Resident ZA. You cannot transfer your Pokemon to other Pokemon games. Wow, Game Freak. Wow. That's a slap in the face to Pokemon fans. And even then, if you want to transfer them, you have to go through a fucking paywall. Okay? As well. Okay? Modern Pokemon is a cell of its former self. Okay? Yeah. Okay? And I like how people complain about the DK Island DLC when it's literally a roguelike DLC. Okay, for people who don't understand what a roguelike game is, okay, there are people who will literally grind out a roguelike game. Okay, if roguelike games are not for you, then don't get the Donkey Kong DLC because that's what it basically is. But for people who enjoy that type of stuff, okay, yeah, they're good. There are people who play roguelike games for hours and hours on end. Okay, to get a high score. Okay, like you know as well. Okay, the roguelike games people will get for hours and hours on hours as well. Here, trying to beat the high score. Okay, like for people who are complaining about Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC, like it's a roguelike game. Of course, the whole point of a roguelike game, if you have never played one before, okay, it's 4chan and Twitter don't seem to understand what a roguelike game is. It's a game that is richly defined by meta depth, easy generating levels and turn-based gameplay. Well, Donkey Kong is not turn-based, obviously, but grid-based movement with a dungeon crawl setting. But Donkey Kong's DLC is exactly a roguelike game, basically. Of course, there's only one layer because it's a DLC. But roguelike games are supposed to be addicting. That's the whole point of a roguelike game. Splatoon's DLC was also a similar price, and it was a roguelike game as well, okay? Yeah. And it seems that Donkey Kong DLC as well, okay, is basically, you know, a roguelike DLC. That's basically what it is. Emerald Rush is essentially a roguelike mode as well, okay? Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, they're Pokemon as an IP. And every once in a while, of course, there'll be a time where I'm no longer around anymore. I just really hope someday, when it comes to Pokemon, Game Freak gets the heads out of the asses, and the Pokemon Company gets the heads out of the asses, and makes some actual good Pokemon games. Honestly, okay? Honestly, okay? As well, okay? I don't care how many dislikes those my videos about the Pokemon get. Okay, apparently the vast majority of people. I wish 4chan Twitter understand and not the world. Like for example, Zara Larson's Midnight Sun was a huge flop of a song. But we're told constantly by Twitter that it's a huge success that everybody likes that song when no one is listening to that song. Like it's a huge flop as well. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. But yep. there we go about this video. The Nintendo Direct, in my opinion, was mid. It wasn't, very interesting. It wasn't but I was kind of not really expecting it to be a huge Direct as well here. I wasn't really expecting it to be huge as well, okay? Because they're gonna show the release date for the big titles. So a bunch of games that are developed by third parties throughout the beginning of the year, okay, as well, okay, and they're gonna show off, the few games that they usually announce for the beginning of the year. Like, they don't understand, like, that's just how it is with Nintendo. I think when it comes to Nintendo, I think people need to realize that they are, because of leakers, we are over expecting what they see in Nintendo Direct. And I have said that and I'll probably say that many, many more times. You guys are over expecting stuff in this Nintendo Direct, okay, as well, okay. You guys are over expecting as well. But let's remember, as much as we hate Pokemon Legends ZA, it will still outspell Portal Blade and all of its sequels probably combined. Goodbye.